Welcome to my 14-day SAT prep series. Today is day 8 of 14, and today we're going to be covering a pacing walkthrough of the math no calculator section and a pacing walkthrough of the math with calculator section. So just like I did a pacing walkthrough of the SAT writing section yesterday, where I treated the writing section like I was taking it on a real SAT and showed you that same pacing strategies that I outlined in yesterday's video, I'll be doing the same thing today with the math no calculator section and the math with calculator section. So in yesterday's video, we outlined how I recommend pacing all 4 of the SAT sections. So that was the reading section, the writing section, and both the math sections. Today what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you that pacing strategy in practice. So I'll be taking the math no calculator section of SAT practice test 2, and I'll be doing a pacing walkthrough through that. So I'll basically be treating it like I would if I were taking the SAT. So you'll get an inside look at what someone who has scored perfectly on the SAT math section on back-to-back SATs, how they manage their time, as well as how they approach questions. So I'll be going through, I'll be following my suggested approach as I always would if I were taking the SAT. So I put that right here. We talked about that yesterday as well, so you can take a quick look to refresh your mind on that. And then after we do the math no calculator pacing walkthrough of SAT practice test 2, we're going to do a pacing walkthrough of the math with calculator section. So once again, I'll be approaching it just like I would if I were taking the real SAT. Obviously, I'll be giving verbal answer explanations as I go. That's really the only difference, is that I'm teaching you how to answer the problems as I go through. So once again, I'll be following that same suggested approach I outlined in yesterday's math with calculator pacing video. So I'll be following all those same steps. You'll see me do it. Now, just one thing, I'm not going to use the full 55 minutes. I'm only going to use about 38, and then the last 17 minutes, I'm not going to include, just because I'm trying to keep this video right around an hour. Like I said I would in the beginning of the prep series. So I'll try to keep this one in right around an hour. So I'll only take right around 38 minutes on the math with calculator pacing walkthrough. As you know, I always recommend having time left at the end to go back and check work. So after I complete that 38 minutes where I've answered all the questions, I'll include like 2 minutes where I just describe what I would do in that 17 minutes, right? So you'll understand what I would do with that extra time as well. Okay, so I'm not just leaving you out to dry on that. All right, so with that, like I said, hopefully you took a quick look at the suggested approach for both of these sections, and let's go ahead and get started with the math no calculator section right now. All right, let's get started. This is practice test 2. So we got number 1. If 5x plus 6 equals 10, what's the value of 10x plus 3? Okay, first thing that jumps out to me immediately, I've got 5x here, I've got 10x here. So I know if I go ahead and subtract 6 from each side, 10 minus 6 is 4, 5x is 4, 10x is double that, which means 10x is 8, 8 plus 3 gives me 11, so my answer there is going to be C. Okay, number 2. I've got stacked equations. I'm asked about a following ordered pair that satisfies that system above. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and solve for not x, because I see that there's 2 of those. I'm going to solve for y because I see there's only 1, 2. So if y is 2, then I can go ahead and solve for that. So I'm going to go ahead and add these together after I double my top one. That way I have 2y minus that 2y. So I do that, I got to apply this 2 to the x as well and the 2 to the 0. I'm going to get 2x plus 3x, that's 5x. Or I guess I'm solving for y first, or for x first. But either way, that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we do that, we get rid of our y that way. Now we have 2x plus 3x, that's 5x. And then we have 10, and that's what that's equal to. Divide each side by 5. We see that then x is going to equal 2, so our answer there is going to be B. Okay, so that one worked fine anyways. So B will be our answer for 2. Now we got question 3. Okay, I've got a word problem. A landscaping company estimates the price of a job in dollars using the expression 60 plus 12 NH, where N is the number of landscapers who will be working and H is the total number of hours the job will take using N landscapers. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 12 in the expression? Okay, that 12 is getting multiplied by our number of landscapers and the number of hours. So then that 12 must be the cost per hour per landscaper. So that's answer choice A for number 3. Okay, now we can go ahead and move on to questions 4 and whatever else is. Oh, questions 4 is right here. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression shown above? Okay, the first thing I'm looking at is this 9a4, a to the power of 4. I'm going to be looking for a 3a squared and then squaring that equation there. So I see that a's got that. C and D, they have 2 options that are unacceptable. I'm looking at this one right here. I need to match this to my, I see I've got 4b to the 4th at the end. That's positive. If I see I have plus 2b squared times 2b squared is 4b to the 4th, so that's good. As far as option B, this one right here, I see 2 times 2, that's going to give me 4, and then I have to multiply by 2 again because that's to the 4th. That's going to get me over that 4, so that's going to be too big. Therefore, my answer is going to have to be A for number 4. All right, number 5. If k is greater than 0, that just means k has got to be positive. X equals 7. What's the value of k? Okay, I'll plug in 7 here. I'll add 7 to each side. Add 7 to each side. Get rid of that. Put a 7 here. Next thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to square each side. 7 squared I know is 49, so I'm going to have 49 then is going to equal 2k squared plus 17. I got to subtract 17 from each side so I can isolate that k. I do that, I'm going to get 32 equals 2k squared. I'm going to divide each side by 2. That's going to give me 16 is equal to k squared. I take the square root of each side to isolate k. Square root of 16, I know that that's going to be 4, so my answer there is going to be C. Okay, now I've got question 6. Okay, so I've got two lines. Line L is parallel to line K, which means it's got the same slope. What's the value of P? Okay, first thing I'm going to do is find the slope. I see I go over 5 and I go up 2. I see over here I got to go up by 4. If I got to go up 4, I know that that's double going up 2, which means I got to double what I go to the right, which means I got to go to the right 10. I start at 0, therefore P must be 10. So my answer for 6 is going to be D. Okay, question 7. Okay, I've got stacked equations with same base, different exponents, equal x to the 16th. X is greater than 1. A plus b is 2. What's the value of a minus b? All right, so I've got x to the power of a squared. I can go ahead and subtract that b squared then. So I'll have x to the power of a squared minus x, or minus b squared. Okay, I know that that's equal to x to the 16th. Therefore, 16 must equal a squared minus b squared. Okay, I know that a squared minus b squared is the same as a plus b times a minus b, and that's got to equal 16. I know that a plus b is 2, so I can go ahead and plug in a 2 there. I got to solve for a minus b, divide each side by 2, get rid of that. 16 over 2, that's going to give me 8 then. So 8 will be a minus b, so answer there is going to be A for number 7. All right, number 8. Okay, number 8's right here. Measure A in degrees of an exterior angle of a regular polygon is related to the number of sides of the polygon by the formula above. If the measure of an exterior angle of a regular polygon is greater than 50 degrees, okay, so that means that A has got to be 50 degrees or more. What's the greatest number of sides it can have? I divide each side by 50 to get rid of that. What is 360 over 50? 360 over 50, I know that's going to be right around 7.2, I believe. Okay, so I see that if that's going to be right around 7.2, then the maximum number of sides I can have then is going to be 7, right? Because if we were going to have 7 right here, then that right there is going to be right around 51 point something, right, which is greater than 50. But if we were to have 8 sides, then that's going to have to be less than 50. Okay, so our answer there is 7. Now we've got question 9. Question 9. So 8 we got, let me go back. Okay, number 9. Graph of a line in xy plane has a slope 2, contains point 1 and 8, which means it's going to be y equals 2x. I got to move 2 down since it's a slope of 2 and I'm going to the left, so that's going to be 2x plus 6. Next, I'm told the second line has these 2 points. If they intersect somewhere, what's the value of a plus b being these 2 points? Okay, the other line, the equation for that one, I see that I've got a slope. As I move right by 1, I go down by 1, so a slope of negative x. Okay, and I need to solve for what they equal, so I'm going to set them equal to each other. And I know that my y-intercept is going to be, if I go down 1 as I move to the right, if I'm moving to the left, I got to add 1, so that's going to be plus 3 then, since we have 2 at x equals 1, at x equals 0, we're going to have plus 3. Okay, now I just go ahead and solve for x. I add x to each side. I'm going to get 3x, subtract 6 from each side. That's going to give me negative 3, so 3x equals negative 3, divide each side by 3. When I do that, I'm going to get x equals negative 1. Okay, keep in mind that that's not my correct answer because I need a plus b. At this point, I know at negative 1, right, if I've got negative 1, I just plug in negative 1 into this equation right here. This y equals 2x plus 6. I got 2 times negative 1. That's going to give me negative 2 plus 6. Negative 2 plus 6 gives me 4, which means now I have to take that 4, add it to the negative 1. Since we have to solve for a plus b, that's going to give me positive 3. Positive 3. So answer there is going to be B for number 9. Okay, at this point we go ahead and we go down and answer 16 through 18 since they're going to be easier than the other ones, that 10 through 15 will be. So we have the sales manager in general. The sales manager of a company awarded a total of $3,000 in bonuses to the most productive salespeople. Bonuses were awarded in either $250 increments or $750. If at least one $250 bonus and at least one $750 were awarded, what's one possible number of 250? Okay, let's say that they did 2 $750 bonuses. 2 times 750 is going to give me 1,500. So that means I'll have 1,500 left to divide by that $250 bonuses we're giving out. And that's going to leave me with 6. So my answer there could be 6. Okay, there's a couple answer choices. In this case, we're going to go with 6 because that's what I decided. Okay, now we've got question 17. Let's go ahead and get there. And the equation above, a, b, and c are constants. If the equation is true for all values of x, what's the value of b? Okay, I got to solve for b. I know that my b value here is going to have to be whatever it is on my left side of the equation as well. So I'm going to find what my x values are. I got 2x times 5, that's going to be 10x. Then I see I've got 3 times 3x, that's going to be plus 9x. That's going to total 19x, which means that b is going to have to be 19. So my answer there is going to be 19. All right, number 18. Let's go to our right here. We've got a geometry problem. We got two parallel lines. AE is parallel to CD. Segment AD intersects CE at B. What's the length of CE? So solving for the length of CE. Okay, I see that that's from here all the way to here. I see I've got an 8 here. Okay, what I see is I got vertical angles right there. I know that this angle here has to be the same measure as this one here. Next thing that I can do, that's because they're parallel lines. Next thing that I can do is I can see I go from 10 to 5 here. So I want to go from 8 to 4 right here because I see that my similar triangle, it's going to have half of whatever it is on this side, which means we're going to have half of 8 be right here, which is 4. Now I add my 8 to my 4. I do that, and I'm going to get 12 as my answer for number 18. 12 will be my answer for 18. Okay, next I got questions 19 and 20. I'm going to glance at them, see if they're easy. If they are, I'm going to go ahead and solve. That one looks easy. One on the right also looks easy because I see it's got that setup, right, of those two where I'm going to be able to add or find whatever ratio or whatever. And then this one also looks pretty easy because it's just geometry. So in the xy plane above, O is the center of the circle and measure angle AOB is pi over a radians, solving for the value of A. Okay, so that's going to be my angle right there that I've marked. I see I have a root 3 right here because that's my x value, and I see I go up by 1. Okay, what do I see here immediately? I see that that's going to be a 60, 30, 90 triangle. Because a 60, 30, 90 triangle, I'm going to quickly show this, even though I wouldn't if I were taking the SAT. 60, 30, 90 triangle would look something like this, an x there, an x root 3 there, and then a 2x there. In this case, I have a 1 here, and then I have a 1 times root 3. So that fits it. That tells me that this angle right here then is going to have to be 30 degrees. Okay, if it's 30 degrees, we know that 30 degrees, then we take that, multiply by the fact that we have 1 pi per every 180 degrees, and we see that we're going to get our answer being pi over 6. So our answer there for A is going to be 6, right? That's going to be the value of that A right there. So 6 is going to be our answer for 19. Now we got question 20. In the system of equations above, A and B are constants. If it has infinitely many solutions, what's the value of A over B? Infinitely many solutions means that we have the same slope and also the same y-intercept. If there's infinitely many solutions, I see to get from my y-intercept there, I got to multiply by 5. Okay, I got to multiply by 5. Or if I'm going from 60 to 12, I got to divide by 5. So in this case, what I can look to do is just divide by 5 going from 8 to B. So I'm going to have 8 over 5 is going to be B. Now for A, it's going to be 2 over 5, since I got to divide by 5 going this way as well. So A will be 2 over 5. Now I just solve for A over B, so that's going to be 2 over 5, 2 over 5 over 8 over 5, which can be rewritten as 2 over 5 times 5 over 8. Okay, we do that, 5's cancel, we get 2 over 8, which we know is equal to 1 over 4. So answer there is going to be 1 over 4. Okay, at this point we go back and we answer 10 through 15. So let's get back, find wherever 10 is. Looks like it's right here. Which of the following equations has a graph in the xy plane for which y is always greater than or equal to -1? Okay, that means it's always got to be greater than or equal to -1. What jumps out to me immediately, this first one, we've got absolute value, that could be 0, 0 minus 2, that's less than -1, that's wrong. Right here, this could be 0, 0 minus 2, also less than -1. Right here, it's some value squared, any value squared has to be positive, or at minimum 0, can't be less than 0, so answer is going to have to be C. Number 11. Okay, I've got imaginary numbers, what's equivalent to this, which imaginary number is equivalent to this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by my complex conjugate, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this so I have room to go ahead and write my complex conjugate. That's going to be 8 minus 2i over 8 minus 2i. Okay, I do this in my denominator. 8 times 8 gives me 64. Next thing that I'm going to have is a 2 times -2i. That's going to give me -4i squared. So -4i squared, I know that that's going to become a positive 4. So I'll have plus 4. That's going to give me 68. Okay, up top, I'm going to have a 3 times a 5. That's going to get, or I'm sorry, a 3 times 8. That's going to give me 24. Then I've got a -5i times a -5i times -2i. That's going to be positive 10i squared, which becomes -10 since I squared is -1. Then I have -5i times 8, so that's -40i, -40i. And then I have -2i times 3, which is going to be -6i. Okay, I can go ahead and simplify that. 24 minus 10 is going to be 14 over 68, which I know is going to equal 7. When simplified, that's going to be 7 over 34 because we can divide each by 2. And then I'm going to have that much minus. It's going to be 46i, since -40i minus 6i is -46i. That's all over 68. Once again, we can divide by 2, put it over 34 there, and then 46 over 2 is going to give me 23. So minus 23i. So answer here is going to be 7 over 34 minus 23i over 34. Let's look for an answer that's got that. Okay, I see that I've got it right here. So my answer there is going to be C. So that's C for number 11. Okay, now we've got question 12 right here. We've got a website. I see immediately what I see is I have everything that is set for what f equals, so I don't even have to read this. I can just find what f equals. Multiply by n plus f. Get rid of that. Multiply that r by n plus f. Okay, I distribute. Now I'm going to have nr plus fr equals f. I got to subtract fr because I got to solve for f, so I need it all on one side. So I get all my f's on one side here. Okay, I do that. Now I see I can factor out f. Now I can just do f times 1 minus r. At that point, I divide each side by that 1 minus r. Just get f equal to something. Now I have nr over 1 minus r, and that'll be my answer there for what f equals. Nr over 1 minus r. I see that that's going to be right here. That's answer choice B for number 12. Okay, now we've got question 13. Okay, I've got values, the sum of the values of m that satisfy this. Okay, right away I see I can take a 2 out, so I'm going to take a 2 out, multiply by m squared minus 8m plus 4 then equals 0. At this point I see that I could factor this as being m and then plus some number. We'll call it r because it doesn't matter. We'll call it r1. And we see it's going to have to be minus because we have a minus sign right here. So we know that, or I'm sorry, we know it has to be a minus because we have a minus sign there and a plus sign here. Okay, so then we're going to have minus there. We'll call this one R2, whatever it is. Okay, because then that gets us this positive here, and we'll also have that negative there. Okay, so at that point, what we know then is that the sum of those values, right, that negative R1 value plus negative R2 has to equal that negative 8. We can flip the sign on all of those, and that will give us R1 plus R2 then has to equal positive 8. So our answer there is going to be D for number 13. Okay, what one are we on at this point? 14. We got 14 down here. A radioactive substance decays at an annual rate of 13%. So I know I got to multiply by 0.87 for whatever is left. If the initial amount is 325, so 325 goes here. Which of the following functions models the remaining amount t years later? Okay, remaining amount means that I got to get rid of whatever's getting decaying. So that's 13%, which means I'm going to have 0.87%, or I'll have 87% remaining, which we can write as 0.87 raised to the power of t. So our answer then is going to be answer choice A for 14. So that one really is just understanding the equation for exponential growth and decay, which we outlined in week 1. 15, we've got this equation up here. It's equivalent to what? In order to solve for this one's just going to be a division problem, right? 5x minus 2. I'll rewrite that 5x minus 2. Okay, we got to multiply by a 5 to get rid of our 5x. So now we'll have minus 5x. Okay, we have to multiply this 5 by that 3 then. That's going to be plus 15, plus 15. Okay, 5x minus 5x gives us 0. Negative 2 minus 15 gives me negative 17. Okay, that's going to be my remainder. My remainder is negative 17, which means my answer there is going to be D. Okay, so that takes us through all of our problems. It looks like we finished that in right around 15 minutes and 50 seconds, it looks like on my screen. So just about 16 minutes. We got 9 minutes left to check our work. As I said in the pacing video, at this point, what I would do is I would go through and I would just make sure that everything in my answer sheet matches what's in my test booklet as far as the answers go. So I'm going to allocate that time here, so that way it's simulated like the real thing. So we're going to go ahead and just run through it just like I would if I were checking my answer booklet. So we've got 1C, we've got 2B, we've got 3A, we've got 4A, we've got 5C, we've got 6D, we've got 7A, we've got 8C, we've got 9B, we've got 10C, we've got 11C, we've got 12B, we've got 13D, we got 14A, we got 15D, we got 16, 6, 19, I'm sorry, 16, 6, 17, we have 19 as our answer choice. And then number 18, we have 12. Number 19, we have 6. I believe we have 6. Yep, 19, we've got 6. Number 20, we've got 1/4. All right, so that takes us through checking our work. Keep in mind that I took a long time there checking, like cross-checking, just because I wanted to account for the fact that I didn't have to write anything in my answer bubble sheet as I went through, right? I talk about how after every page I would be filling in my answer sheet if I were doing this paper and pencil. In this case, obviously, I can't do that because I'm doing it digitally, but I wanted to take more time there just to kind of account for that amount of time. So after that point, I've checked everything in my answer booklet, made sure it matches my test booklet. Now I go through and check my work. Okay, so I've got 5x plus 6 equals 10. What's 10x plus 3? Well, 5x, I can go ahead and subtract 6 from each side. 10 minus 6 is going to be 4. 5x is 4. That means 10x is going to have to be double that, which is 8. 8 plus 3 is going to give me 11, so that one's correct. Number 2. Okay, I go down here. I can get rid of my y's by multiplying my top one by 2. When I do that and then I add them, I get rid of my y's. I'll have 5x total. That's going to equal 10, which means x will have to equal 2. That one's correct because there's only one answer choice where x is 2. Number 3, I've got landscapers. I'm asked for what 12 means. I see 12 is multiplied by n and h, where n's number of hours, the number of landscapers working, h is how many hours the job takes. That's telling me that each landscaper is earning $12 per hour. Okay, so the company's charging $12 for each landscaper. So A is correct. That's checked. 4. I've got which of the following is equivalent to the expression above. All right, so I've got a 9a to the 4th. That's going to mean I have to have 3a squared with that squared right there. That works. I've got 2b squared. That matches up to that 4b squared since this is squared. As far as the other options, I see that the other options C and D have 9a squared. Those are going to be wrong. This one right here is raised to the power of the 4th with 2 here. That means that 2 is going to end up being, I believe, 16, which means that's going to be wrong as well. So A is correct. Number 5. Okay, I've got k being positive. X is 7. If x is 7, okay, if x is 7, I got to add x to each side. So I've got a 7 here. I square it. That's going to give me 49. Okay, the square root's gone because I squared it. At that point, I subtract 17 from each side. That's going to give me 32. 32. Okay, now that's gone. At that point, I divide each side by 2. That's going to give me 16. So now I'm going to have 16 then equals k squared. Square root 16, that's going to be 4. 4, so my answer there is correct. Number 6. Going down here, I got line K is parallel to line L. What's the value of P then? I see P is right there. Okay. I see if I go over 5, I go up 2. So if I'm going over 10, I must go up 4. And I see then that P then has to be 10 since we started at 0 and we went from -4 to 0. So answer there, that's checked as well. Number 7, I see that I'm going to have x to the power of a squared then minus b squared since that's division. I then see that a squared minus b squared has got to equal to 16 right here. At that point, I know it's going to be a plus b times a minus b. I know a plus b is 2. Therefore, 2 times 8 must give me that 16. So my answer is going to have to be 8. That's correct as well. Number 8, we've got NA equals 360. I know A is my angle in degrees. It says that it has to be more than 50. If it has to be more than 50, then the number of sides then, dividing 360 by 50, that is going to give me that right around 7.2. So my maximum number of sides is 7. That's correct. Number 9, I've got a graph with a slope of 2. It's got points 1 and 8, which means this equation is going to be 2x plus 6 because if I subtract 2 from 8, I get that 6. I know my other equation. I see here I go from 1 to 2. That's an increase of 1 in my run. I see I rise -1, so I'm going to have negative x be my slope there. I see if I go back from 1, I got to go up by 1. That gives me plus 3. So that works there. At that point, I'm just going to go ahead and add x to each side. That's going to be 3x. Subtract 6 from each side. That's going to give me -3. Therefore, x is going to have to be -1. So if x is -1, then I have a -1 there. Whatever b is going to be, well, at -1, I see then that if I plug in -1 into 2x, that's going to give me b being 4. -1 plus 4 is 3. That checks out as well. At this point, I'm going to go check 16 through 18 very, very quickly. Okay, I've got 16. We've got $3,000 in bonuses. We've got 1 has to be 250, and 1's got to be 750 at least. So let's go ahead and pick to do 750 ones. If we do that, we're going to end up with 1,500 left. Divide that by 250. A possible number of 250 bonuses is 6. That's correct. Number 17. Asked to solve for b. I got 2x multiplied by 5. That's going to give me 10x. Then I've got 3 times 3x. That's going to give me 9x. 10x, 9x. That's going to be 19, which means 19 is my correct answer there. That's checked. 18 right here. Okay, this one's just similar triangles. I see I've gotten going from a 10 to a 5, solving for CE. Okay, CE is going to be this. Going from 10 to 5 is halving. We're going to have 8 get 4 here. 4 plus 8 is 12. That one's checked because I believe I answered 12, and I did. Number 19 down here, we've got solving for the value of a and pi over a for angle AOB. I know that angle AOB, because it's a 60, 30, 90 triangle, since we have a root 3 here and a 1 there, that's going to have to be 30 degrees, which I know is pi over 6. So 6 is correct there. Okay, number 20 right here. All right, I'm looking at dividing by 5 to go from 60 to 12. So I just divide 8 over 5 to solve for b, 2 over 5 to solve for a. At that point, I just run this division set right here. That's correct as well. Okay, now I go back and answer or check my work on 10 through 15 as much as I can. Number 10 right here. Okay, we're asked for which one's always going to be greater than or equal to -1. I selected an answer that's squared. That's always got to be equal to or greater than 0. That's correct. Number 11. Multiplying by complex conjugate, I see that I did that. When I did that, I see I get 8 times 8, 64, and then plus 2 times -2i. I know that's going to end up giving me plus 4. 68 is correct there. Up top, I got 3 times 8, that's 24. Then I've got -5i times -2i. That's going to give me positive 10i squared, which is going to be minus 10. That's correct. And then I'm going to end up with -40i, because -5i times 8 is -40i, and then minus 2i times 6. That's going to be this right here, that minus 6i. So I got to end with minus 46i, which I can simplify down to -23i over 34, which I see I've got the only answer with right here, so that's correct. Number 12. I'm solving right here. Got to multiply each side by that, which I did. That's a check right there. And then I multiply that there, check. Okay, after that point, I've got NR plus FR. Subtract each side by FR. Go ahead and get rid of that 1 minus R, and that's going to solve for my answer there. That's checked as well. All right, number 13. Okay, what's the sum of all values of M? I get rid of my 2 here by factoring it out. At that point, I've got that negative R1 and R2, since that's got to be positive and that's got to be negative. I could go ahead and flip my sign, since I know they have to equal -8, and I see that that's going to equal +8. That one's checked as well. 14. I got decay, radioactive decay, so exponential decay. That's decaying at 13%, so whatever's left is going to be 0.87 to the power of t times my initial amount, which is 325. That one's correct as well. Okay, 15. I've got an expression right here. This is just division, so I just divide it. 5 times x gives me 5x. That cancels there. Then I got 5 times 3. That's 15. -2 minus 15. Remainder 17. That one's checked off as well. So at that point, I've checked off all my answers. I got about a minute left. If I was doing this as the real SAT, what I do is I just go back through my answer sheet, my bubble sheet, just make sure everything matches my bubble sheet just one last time. And yeah, so we've got basically 40 seconds. So if this were the real SAT, I just run it back to 1, and I just check, go through my bubbles, just make sure I bubbled everything the same as what's in my test booklet. So once again, hopefully, this time ends in 30 seconds. So that takes care of the math and no calculator sections, pacing walkthrough. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you were able to see how I approached the questions, the order I did it in, how I managed my time, as well as picked up maybe a few tips and tricks you can use to solve those problems faster. Alright, so now that we've done that, we're going to go through the math with calculator pacing walkthrough, right? So I'll be pretty much approaching the math with calculator section exactly the same as I would on the real SAT, only difference being that I'm giving verbal answer explanations as I do it. So you'll get an inside look at how I'm approaching the problems as well as how I'm managing my time. Once again, I'll be following that same suggested approach I outlined yesterday and that I outlined right here on your screen now, right? I'll put this little dual set of arrows on it, right? So you know what I'm talking about. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. This will be from SAT Practice Test 6. So this will be, I'll put PT 6 for Practice Test 6. That first math, no calculator section was from Practice Test 2. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, which expression is equivalent to 2x squared minus 4 and then minus all of this? First thing I'm going to check is this last term, because I see that we have a different last term and it looks like 3 out of the 4 of them. So I'll go ahead and look at my last term. I have minus 4 and then minus -7. That's going to be -4 plus 7, which will give me a 3 at my end. That's going to be only option A, so number 1 is going to have to be A. All right, question 2. The graph above shows the positions of Paul and Mark during a race. Paul and Mark each ran at a constant rate. Mark was given a head start. To shorten the distance he needed to run, Paul finished the race in 6 seconds and Mark finished in 10 seconds. According to the graph, Mark was given a head start of how many yards? Okay, well, we see that Mark, his line is right here. That's where it starts. Therefore, his head start must be 18, since the distance, the midpoint between 12 and 24 is at 18. So the answer there has to be 18, which I see is going to be C. So number 2, answer there is going to be C. All right, question number 3. We have snow fell, then stopped for a time. Then when the snow began to fall again, it fell at a faster rate than it had initially, assuming none of the snow melted during the time indicated. Which of the following could model the total accumulation of snow versus time? Okay, well, we know that snow is falling. Okay, so that accumulation is going to go up. Then it says it stops for a while, so it's going to flatline. Then it's going to increase at a faster rate since more snow is falling per minute. So answer choice A is perfect there. So answer for number 3 there is going to have to be A. All right, question 4. A website hosting service charges its businesses a one-time setup fee of $350 plus D dollars for each month. If a business owner paid $1,010 for the first 12 months, which of the following, including the setup fee, which of the following could be the value of D? Okay, we just set this equal to 1010. We subtract 350 to each side to get rid of that setup fee. Okay, we know that he said that he had 12 months, so that'd be plus 12D. Okay, we know that this is gone. Then we divide each side by that 12 months, get rid of it, and solve for D. Okay, so 1,000 1010 minus 350. I'll plug that in my calculator real quick. 1010 minus 350. That's going to give me 660. We have to divide that by 12. And that's going to give us D. Okay, which I'll plug that in my calculator as well. And that's going to give me 55. So my answer then for D is going to be 55, which is answer choice D for number 4. All right, question 5. So we've got an inequality here. We're asked for which of the following is equivalent to the inequality above. Okay, first thing I see right off the bat is that 3 is a factor in all of these, so I'm just going to try to divide everything by 3. So 12 over 3 is going to give me 4, and then negative 9 over 3 will give me negative 3y, 6x over 3 will give me 2x. So I'm looking for 2x minus 3y. I see I have that right here, that's greater than 4, so B then will be my answer for number 5. All right, moving on to question 6. Where do people get most of their medical information? The table above shows a summary of 1,200 responses to a survey question. Based on the table, how many of those surveyed get most of their medical information from either a doctor or the internet? Okay, we need doctor or the internet, or I'm sorry, either a doctor or the internet. So that means we have to take the sum of the doctor and the internet's percentages. So 63% plus 13% is going to give me 76%. So I've got 76%. I've got to multiply that by my 1,200 responses. So that's going to be 1,200 times 0.76. I'll plug that in my calculator and see what that gets me. 1,200 times 0.76. That's going to give me 912. Okay, that's 912. So my answer there is going to be C. All right, now we've got question 7. All right, question 7. The members of a city council wanted to assess the opinions of all city residents about converting an open field into a dog park. The city sampled 500 city residents who own dogs. Already I know that's a biased sample since we want city residents to include all of them, not just those who own dogs. This is a biased sample. The survey showed the majority of those sampled were in favor of the dog park, which of the following is true about the city council's survey. I'm looking for something that says that it's a biased sample. So we have A, it shows the majority of residents are in favor. No. B, the survey sample should have included more residents who are dog owners. No. C, the survey sample should have consisted entirely of residents who don't own dogs. No. D, the survey sample is biased because it does not represent all city residents. That's true. So 7 there is going to be D. All right, question 8. We got ice cream and topping selections. The table above shows the flavors of ice cream and toppings chosen by people at a party. Each person chooses one flavor of ice cream and one topping. Of the people who chose vanilla, so that's going to be this column right here. What fraction chose hot fudge as a topping? I see that's going to be 8 over my total, which will be 13. So 8 over 13. So that's going to be answer choice. It looks like a D. Yep, so our answer there is going to be D for number 8. All right, question number 9. So it says the total area of a coastal city is 92.1 square miles, of which 11.3 square miles is water. If the city had a population of 621,000 people in the year 2010, which is the following is closest to population density and people per square mile of land area. Key part there is that it's per square mile of land area of the city at the time. Okay, that means we have to subtract our water area of 11.3 from our 92.1. So we're going to have our population of 621,000 all divided by our 92.1 total area, subtracting our 11.3 water area to get that land area. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Put it in our calculator. So 621,000 all divided by 92.1 minus 11.3. Okay, when we do that, let me just quick re-put that in my calculator a minute. Okay, that's going to give us 7,685, right, which we know is going to be just about 7,690. So our answer for number 9 there is going to be B. All right, moving on, we got question 10. Okay, question 10. Between 1497 and 1500, Amerigo Vespucci embarked on 2 voyages around the world, or to the New World. In his letters, the first voyage lasted 43 days longer than the second voyage. Okay, so first one lasted 43 days longer than the second voyage. So the second voyage plus 43 equals our first. Now we're told that the 2 voyages combined lasted a total of 1,003 days. How many days did the second voyage last? Okay, well the total is going to be the second plus the first. We know the first is S plus 43, so we can call that plus S plus 43. We know that that's got to equal 1,003. Subtract 43 from each side. Okay, subtract 43 from each side. That's going to leave us with 960 equals 2S. Divide each side by 2 to get rid of that. 960 over 2 is going to leave us with 480 for our second voyage. So the correct answer there is going to have to be B for number 10. Alright, question number 11. For the solution xy to the system of equations above, what's the value of x minus y? Alright, well, we're going to go ahead and solve for x here. So what I see immediately is I can go ahead and add these to get rid of my y, because 3y plus negative 3y gives me 0y. I have 7x plus 6x, that's 13x. That's going to be 8 plus 5, that's 13 as well. So therefore I know that x is going to equal 1. Right, dividing each side by 13, we see that x equals 1. At that point, I just go ahead and plug in a 1. We'll pick this one up here. So we got 7 times 1, that's 7. 7 plus 3 times what gives me 8? Well, I subtract 7 from each side. I know 8 minus 7 leaves me with 1. So now I have 1 equals 3y, divide each side by 3, and I see that y equals 1/3. Okay, so x is 1. We have 1 then minus 1/3. That's going to leave us with 2/3. So our answer there is going to be B for number 11. All right, moving down, we got question 12. Okay, 12 through 14 are referring to the following. We've got a graph, sunflower growth. We have it time, height. All right, so we've got over which of the following time periods is the average growth rate of the sunflower the least? Okay, well, I'll take a look. My growth rate being the least is where going to be my height changes the least over time. I see that that's going to be right around here. So I'm looking for an answer saying something with 77 to 84 or something with 70 to 77, right around there. Okay, I see that I've got, of the periods that I have, the latest one is 63 to 84, and I see that that's going to be where my slope is the smallest. So that's going to be the correct answer there. So answer for 12 there is going to be D. All right, and so now we're going to go ahead and go on to 13. So we switch over to 13. The function h is defined by h of t equals a times t plus b, where a and b are constants, models the height in centimeters of the sunflower after t days of growth during a time period in which the growth is approximately linear. What does a represent? Well, a then is going to represent our growth and our height per day. B would be our starting height. So A would be our growth and our height per day. So let's take a look at our options. A, the predicted number of centimeters of sunflower grows each day during the period. Yes, that is correct, right? It's not the predicted height in centimeters because that's what h of t is. It's not the predicted height in centimeters at the end of the period or the beginning. Not the predicted total increase in the height during the period. Okay, that A is just being that predicted number of centimeters we're growing each day. That's our slope. All right, now we got question 14. So we've got a growth rate of a sunflower from day 14 to 35 is nearly constant. On this interval, which of the following best models the height h in centimeters t days after it begins to grow? Okay, let's go take a look at day 14 to 35. We want to draw a straight line down to find our intercept. Okay, so we follow this line down. We see we're going to have a negative intercept, and we see that we're increasing from right around. We can move this one up a little bit to 40, move this one up from right around 40 to 70, so that's going to be right around 30 over 7 as our slope. So we're looking at a slope of right around 4 with a negative intercept. Okay, I see I have a slope of 4.5 with a negative intercept, so that'll be my answer there. So 14 is going to be B. All right, now we've got question 15. Okay, question 15. We've got a table of x and y, which of the following relates y to x for the values in the table above. Okay, I see if I increase my x by 1, I increase my y by 14 over 4. Okay, so I got positive 14 over 4x. That's my slope there. I see what I'm starting at if I were to go back by 14 over 4. Well, the other thing is I don't even have to check that because I see that my only option here with that same slope, these are exponential, so they're going to be wrong because I see I also go up by 14 over 4 going from 2 to 3, so I know I'm going to be dealing with a linear. The only one that with that same linear slope is D, so D is going to have to be my answer for 15. Okay, now I got question 16. I've got two triangles, which of the following is equal to the ratio BC over AB. Okay, I know that these are going to be similar triangles because if this is a 90 right here, then that 32 has to combine with a 58-degree angle to get that 90. Same thing over here, we're going to have a 32-degree angle. Okay, so at this point I'm asked for BC over AB. What's equivalent to that? Well, I see BC is my 58 to my 90, so I find my 58 to my 90 over here. That's going to be DF. Okay. Now I'd look at AB. So I know AB. I see that that's my hypotenuse, right? So now I find my hypotenuse over here. I see that that's DE. So I'm looking for DF over DE. Okay, I see that that's going to be answer choice B, DF over DE. So my answer for 16 then is going to be B. All right, now we've got question 17. Okay, I've got riser height and tread depth on a stairway. When designing a stairway, an architect can use the riser tread formula, where H is the riser height in inches, D is the tread depth. For any given stairway, the riser heights are the same, tread depths are the same, number of steps is the same as the number of its rises. For example, there are 5 steps in the stairway above. The total rise of a stairway is the sum of the riser heights as shown in the figure. Which of the following expresses h? So we're just solving for h. So we'll go find our formula. Solving for h here, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to subtract d from each side to get rid of it there. Now we're going to have 25 minus d equals 2h. Okay, 2h. We just divide each side by 2. So we're going to have 25 minus d over 2 is going to be what h is. 25 minus d over 2. Okay, I see that that's going to be right here. Okay, 25 minus d over 2. So 17, my answer there is going to be B. All right, now I've got question 18. So 18, it says, some building codes require that for indoor stairways, the tread depth must be at least 9 inches. Okay, so depth must be at least 9 inches. Riser height must be at least 5 inches. According to the riser tread formula, which the following represents the set of all possible values for the riser height that meets this code requirement. Okay, well, what we're going to do here is we know h has to be at least greater than 5. So we're going to use this equation down here that we just made. Okay, if h has got to be equal to 5 or greater, we can put a 5 in there. Now we know that d's got to be less than 9, I believe it said. Okay, or d's got to be greater than 9. Okay, so d has to be greater than 9. So if our depth has to be 9 or more, then we're going to have 25 minus at least 9, which will leave us with 25 minus 9 is going to give me 16. 16 over 2 then would be 8, right? So that is going to be greater than that 5 that it had to be at least at a minimum of. So then if our height's got to be at least 5, so height's got to be at least 5, we know that then our height can have a maximum of 8, right? Because anytime we increase our depth, we're going to decrease our height. Okay, so height has to be between 5 and 8. So my answer there is going to have to be answer choice C for number 18. All right, now I've got question 19. Okay, we have an architect wanting to use, now keep in mind at that point we've just gone through 1 through 18. Okay, since this is a paired problem, I'm going to go ahead and attack 19. Now keep in mind 19 to 22, if at any point there I see a difficult problem, that's when I'm going to make my jump down to 31 to 35. If I don't see any difficult problem between 19 and 22, then after 22, that's when I make my jump down to 31 to 35. So an architect wants to use the riser tread formula to design a stairway with a total rise of 9 feet, a riser height between 7 and 8 inches, and an odd number of steps. With the architect's constraints, which of the following must be the tread depth in inches of the stairway? Okay, well we want it to rise 9 feet, so we're going to go 9 times 12, so we're dealing with all inches. Okay, when we do that, I'll plug that in my calculator. I believe that that's 108. Let me just check. I see that that is 108, so we're going to have 108 inches that we have to rise. So 108 inches, that's going to have to equal our height times our number of steps. Okay, so height times, we'll call it n for number of steps. Now we know that our height has to be between 7 and 8, so to find our possible number of steps, we're just going to put in a 7 here, right? So it'll be 108 over 7 equals n, and then 108 over 8 equals n. Okay, and then we're just going to put those in our calculator to see what they give us. Now keep in mind n has to be an odd number because we want an odd number of steps. So let's put those in our calculator. We got 108 over 8. That's going to give us 13.5. Keep in mind we have to have a whole number. And then we're going to have 108 over 7. And that's going to give us 15.4. Okay, now we need an odd number. What is the only whole odd number between these two? Well, that's going to be 15 because 14 is even, so 15 is going to have to be n. So now that we know that 15 has to be n, we can do 108 over 15 to solve for h. So when we put that in our calculator, that's going to give us 7.2 for h. Okay, now keep in mind we're asked for the tread depth. Since we're asked for the tread depth, we go back and we're going to use either formula, whatever one we want. We can go ahead and use that one that we were given up here. We know that 25 or 2 times h plus d equals 25. So we're going to have 2 then times our height of 7.2. So 2 times our height of 7.2 plus d has to equal 25. So 2 times 7.2, that's going to be 14.4. So we got to subtract 14.4 from our 25. Now we plug that in our calculator. 25 minus 14.4. That's going to leave us with 10.6 equals D. So D is going to equal 10.6. So answer there is going to have to be C for number 19. Okay, so at this point we're looking at for any difficult problem. Anything we see that's difficult, we're going to go ahead and skip to 31 through 35. So we see here we got what's the sum of the solutions. This one's easy. Okay, one possible solution is going to be x equals 6. Since we flip that sign right there to find our solution, flip our sign over here. The sum of the solutions then is going to be 6 minus 0.7, which is going to be 5.3. So answer there is going to be C for number 20. All right, number 21. Okay, 21 also doesn't look too bad. Okay, a study was done on the weights of different types of fish in a pond. Random sample of fish were caught and marked in order to ensure none were weighed more than once. Sample contained 150 largemouth bass, of which 30% weighed more than 2 pounds, which with the following conclusions is best supported by the sample data. Okay, well, we're dealing with largemouth bass. We see option A says the majority of all fish in the pond weigh less than 2 pounds. No, because we're talking about largemouth bass. They were the only fish in our sample. Average weight of all fish in the pond is approximately 2 pounds. Once again, we can't say that. And then option C also says all fish in the pond. We can't say that. So option D will have to be our answer. It says approximately 30% of all largemouth bass in the pond weigh more than 2 pounds. That one's going to be the best conclusion that we can draw there. So 21 answer there is going to have to be D. All right, number 22, if it looks easy, we're going to go ahead and solve it. It looks pretty easy, just a table. In 2008, there were 21 states with 10 or more electoral votes, as shown in the table above. Based on the table, what's the median number for the 21 states? Okay, well, I've got frequency right here. So frequency is basically how many times these electoral votes show up, right, in these states. So I've got a 4 there, a 4 there. So at that point, I've gotten rid of 8. I'll go down here. I get rid of 4 here. Plus 2, that's 6, plus another 2. Now I've gotten rid of 8 down here and 8 up here. I'll get rid of 1, 2 there. Now I'm going to get rid of 1, 2 here, and I'm left with 1 here. So my answer for the median is going to be 15. So that's going to be answer choice B. So that's for 22. Answer there is going to be B. So now keep in mind at this point, this is where we switch over to the questions 31 through 35, since we just answered 22. All right, a group of friends decided to divide the $800 cost of a trip equally among themselves. When 2 of those friends decided not to go on the trip, those remaining friends still divided the $800 cost equally. But each friend's share of the cost increased by $20. How many friends were in the group originally? Okay, well, we know our original cost is $800. It was split between the original number of members, which we'll call NO for the initial number of members, or we can just call it N. We don't need to include the O. And we know that that's going to equal our original cost per member, which we'll call C. Now, we know that our new cost per member is $20 more, so that's going to be C plus 20. And we know that that's equal to our $800 divided by the number of people we had originally minus the 2 who left. So now at this point, what we're going to do is we're just going to plug in this C into this equation right here and then solve for N. So when we do that, we're going to have 800 over N plus 20 is going to equal our 800 N over N minus 2. At this point, we got to get all of our N's out of our denominator, so we got to multiply each side by N minus 2 and also by N. So multiplying by N here, that's going to cancel with that 800, so we'll just have an 800 there, and then we'll have plus 20N. And we know that that's going to mean we're also going to have to, so we're multiplying this side by N. We do that, that cancels. We got to multiply our other side by N as well. Okay, so multiplying this by N as well. Okay, our N minus 2 here is going to cancel, so we're going to have 800N on this side then. And then we have to multiply by N minus 2 over here as well. So N minus 2 over here. Okay, so that's going to have to get distributed to this 800 and then also to this 20N. Okay, so what's 800 times N? That's going to give me 800N. What's 800 times negative 2? That's going to give me negative 1600. Now what's 20N times N? That's going to give me plus 20N squared. And then what's plus 20N times negative 2? That's going to give me minus 40N. Okay, that's all equal to 800N. At this point, we go ahead and we solve for N. So to do that, we're going to get all of our N's on one side and then set it equal to 0 and then factor it. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 800N from over here. Okay, I'm subtracting 800N. We know 800N over here combined with this negative 40N, that's going to give us 760N. Now we're subtracting 800N from that. That's going to give us negative 40N. Okay, we've got a negative 1600 there. That's going to have to stay and drop down. We're going to have a plus 20N squared that's going to be over here then. Okay, that's all set equal to 0. Now we go ahead and factor. We know that 20 can come out of all of that. So we'll pull out a 20. Then we'll have N squared minus 2, or minus 2N. And then we'll have a minus, I believe that's going to be 80. Okay, that's going to be set equal to 0. Alright, so at this point, all we got to do is factor out this right here, this N squared minus 2N minus 80. When you're looking for factors of 80 that have a difference of 2, or factors of negative 80, right? So factors of negative 80, we know that that's going to be a negative 10, right, to get this negative 2 here, times a positive 8, N plus 8. That's going to give us negative 80, and that's going to give us a difference of that negative 2. Okay, set that equal to 0. Now keep in mind our number of friends has to be positive, therefore our original number of friends is going to have to be that 10 there, right? Because we're going to flip that sign, get it positive, so our answer there is going to have to be 10. So that's for number 31. All right, at this point we move to 32. What value of x is satisfying the equation above? Well, we've got 2 times 5x right here. We're going to distribute it. We're just going to have to distribute and then solve for it, right? So we have 2 times 5x, that's 10x. I've got a minus 8x. Okay, so that's minus 8x. That's going to leave me with 2x. And then I have 2 times negative 20. That's going to give me negative 40. Negative 40 minus 15. That's going to give me negative 55. Okay, I'm going to have to add 55 to each side. Add 55 to 7. That's going to leave me with 62. So I got 2x equals 62, dividing each side by 2 then. Dividing each side by 2 there is going to give me 31. So x is going to have to equal 31. 31. Because 62 over 2 is 31. So answer for 32 is going to be 31. All right, now we got question 33. So a laboratory supply company produces graduated cylinders, each with an internal radius of 2 inches and an internal height between 7.75 inches and 8 inches. What is one possible volume rounded to the nearest cubic inch of a graduated cylinder produced by this company? Okay, we know volume of a graduated cylinder, that's going to be pi r squared times our height. We know that our radius is 2, so we're going to have pi times 2 squared, which is 4, so we're going to have 4 pi then, times our height. We know our height's anywhere from 7.75 to 8, so we could just call it 7.8, right? Or we can pick, it has an internal height between 7.75 and 8, so we'll just go ahead and pick 7.8. Right, we multiply that, put it in our calculator, so we're going to have 7.8 times 4 pi times 4 pi, and that's going to give me 98.0. Okay, it says to, does it say to round? Round to the nearest cubic inch. Okay, so answer there we could do 98. All right, now we've got question 34. In the xy plane, the graph of y equals 3x squared minus 14x intersects the graph of y equals x at point 0, 0. And AA, what's the value of a? All right, well, if we know that we're intersecting at 0, 0 and AA, what's the value of a? Okay, well, we can go ahead and plug in. We've got y equals x at these points, AA. What's the value of a? All right, let me just go down. So we've got key parts here. We've got our equation. We've got 2 pairs of points. We're asked to find the value of a. So what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to just go ahead and just solve for this system of equations. So if we know that y is equal to x, what we're going to do is we're just going to plug in an x. For y then, we're going to have then x equals 3x squared minus 14x. Okay, we subtract x from each side. We get 0 there. Subtract x from each side. We're going to have 3x squared. That's going to be minus 15x. At that point, we factor out 3x. So we're going to have 3x then times x minus 5. So at that point then we know that x is going to have to equal 5. So x will have to equal 5. We're told that the point is AA, which means that a is going to have to equal 5. Okay, so answer for 34 is going to have to be 5. All right, now we got question 35. Okay, keep in mind that this is kind of like the last one, and then we take a look at 36 through 38. The line with the equation 4/5 x plus 1/3 y equals 1 is graphed in the xy plane. What is the x-coordinate of the x-intercept of the line? All right, well, my x-intercept's where y equals 0, so I can plug in a 0 there. 4/5 x equals 1. I know I have to multiply by my reciprocal. Therefore, x is going to have to equal 5 over 4. Okay, so 5 over 4 will be my answer for 35. 36 looks like it is actually going to take a while because we're probably going to have to solve something using means there. So at this point, I can quick jump down to 37 and 38, see if they look pretty easy. They look like they could take a little bit of time. So at this point, I'm actually going to choose to go back to my multiple choice section. Okay, so I'm going to work back to my multiple choice section, find where I left off, which is going to be at 23, I believe, because I answered 22. Okay, I see I've got 23 right there. So at this point, I'm going to go through 23, see if I can get through 30, and then go back to 35 or 36 through 38. So the height versus time for a bouncing ball. Okay, so I've got my time elapsed as part of an experiment as the ball was dropped and allowed to bounce repeatedly off the ground until it came to rest. The graph above represents the relationship between the time elapsed after the ball was dropped and the height of the ball above the ground. After it was dropped, how many times was the ball at a height of 2 feet? Okay, I just draw a line from a height of 2 feet. How many times was that ball crossing that line? I see it crosses here, here, and here, so that's going to be 3 times, so my answer there is going to have to be C for number 23. All right, number 24, a customer's monthly water bill was $75.74 due to a rate increase. Her monthly bill is now $79.86. To the nearest tenth of a percent, by what percent did the water bill increase? Okay, we're going to use new minus old over old. Our new price is 79.86. Our old price was 75.74. 79.74. We divide by our old price of 75.74. Okay, plug this in our calculator, see what we get. I know 79.86 minus 75.74. That's going to give me 4.12. I divide that by 75.74, and that's going to give me 0.0543. Keep in mind, I got to multiply this by 100 to get it as a percent. So multiplying by 100 to get it as a percent. So when I multiply by 100 to get it as a percent, I'm going to get 5.4% because I'm rounding to the nearest tenth. So my answer there is going to be D. Okay, so 24, answer to that one is going to be D. All right, now I've got question 25. Some values of the linear function f are shown in the table above. What is the value of f of 3? Okay, f of 3 means that x is going to be 3. I see if I go from, I have an x or a y intercept at -2, obviously. I see if I increase by 2x, I increase by 6y. Okay, so I'm increasing by 6 for every 2x that I increase. Okay, so y then is going to equal that 6 increase for every 2x minus 2. So I just plug in a 3 then. I know 6 over 2 is 3. 3 times 3 is going to give me 9. 9 minus 2 is going to give me 7. So my answer there is going to have to be B. Okay, so 25, answer there is B. All right, now I got 26. Okay, I've got a gear ratio RS is the ratio of the number of teeth of two connected gears. The ratio of the number of RPMs of the two gear wheels is SR, which I see is the opposite of RS. On the diagram below, gear A is turned by the motor. Gear A causes B and C to turn as well. If the gear A is rotated by at a rate of 100 RPMs, so we've got 100 RPMs for gear A, what's the number of RPMs of gear C? Okay, well, if I look at my ratio of teeth from gear A to gear C, I see that that's going to be 20. We have gear ratio RS, right? Ratio number of teeth of two connected gears. We can call this one, right here, we'll label this one R, we'll label this one S. Okay, we know R to S is, we'll go R over S, right? We know that's going to be 20 over 10. Okay, so if we have 100 RPMs of gear A, then we know that it's going to have to be 200 for gear C, since we have to flip, or since we're going to have ratio SR for the number of RPMs of gear wheels, right? So since this one right here has half as many teeth, it has to have double the amount of RPMs as gear A. So if it's got half the amount of teeth, it's got to have double the RPMs, therefore it's going to have 200 RPMs. Okay, so answer there is going to be C for number 26. Okay, that's because it has half the amount of teeth. We see that it flips that ratio, which means it's going to have double the RPMs. Okay, since it's got half the amount of teeth, it's going to have double the RPMs. All right, next thing that we've got here is question 27. In the XY plane, the graph of this thing here is a circle. What's the radius of the circle? Okay, radius is going to be dealing with this right here. First thing I see immediately is that I can take a 2 out here, a 2 out here, a 2 out here, and a 2 out here. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Keep in mind, I'm also going to have to take that and divide by 2. So I'm going to divide my whole thing by 2 because I want to get x squared. So now I've got x squared minus 3x plus y squared minus, or plus 1 equals 22.5. Okay, in order to get minus 3x, I have to have x minus 1.5 squared. X minus 1.5 squared. Okay, minus 1.5 times minus 1.5 gives me positive 2.25, so I got to add that to my 22.5. Next thing that I see is I have y squared plus 1. To get to that plus 1, I'm going to have y plus 0.5 squared. 0.5 times 0.5 is going to be plus 0.25, because 0.5 squared, 0.25, I add that to that 22.5 and that 2.25. I see that's going to end up giving me 25, so my answer there, when I take the square root of r squared to give my radius, then is going to be 5. So my answer there is going to be A. All right, now I've got question 28, so I'll go ahead and scroll down there. Question 28. Two different points on a number line are both 3 units from a point with coordinate -4. Which of the following equations gives the coordinates of both points? Okay, one thing that you need to understand here is the equation for having something that's certain units from a coordinate. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to set the unit difference, right? In this case, the units from this point is 3. You're going to put that as an equal sign, and then you're going to have the absolute value of x minus whatever your coordinate point is. So it's the equation that you're going to use is x minus a equals the distance, right? In this case, our distance is 3. Okay, it's 3 units from this point. We know our coordinate is -4, so we put a -4 in for a. We see that x minus -4 is going to create an x plus 4, so that's going to be our equation right there. So we see that that's going to be answer choice A. Okay, so the big thing that you need to understand from that is that you're going to have x minus a, and the absolute value equals our distance. Our distance is d. Our a is -4. put that in, solve for your answer there. So that's an equation you should put in your notes if you don't have it there. All right, so answer for 28 there's going to be A. Now we got question 29 and 30. Okay, so motor power is a model car so that after starting from rest, the car travels s inches in t seconds, where s equals 16 times t square root t, which of the following gives the average speed in the car in inches per second over the first t seconds it starts. Okay, well, if it's traveling s distances, we know that speed is equal to our distance over our time. We know that our distance is 16 t root t. We see our t's are going to cancel here, root t. Our t's cancel right there. We're going to have 16 root t. So our answer there is going to be B for number 29. Okay, now we got number 30. So this is our last multiple choice. Scatter plot above showing the amount of electricity generated in millions of megawatt hours of nuclear sources over a 10-year period. I see that I've got a downward sloping, or a downward parabola, right? Downward facing parabola of the following equation of what's going to model my scatter plot. Okay, since it's going down on both sides, it's going to have a negative in front of my x squared, so I can get rid of A, I can get rid of C. Next thing that I see is that I have a 0 right here, which means my intercept has to be a positive right around 750. I see the only one of that positive is D, so my answer is going to have to be D for number 30. At this point, I go down and I answer my last three problems remaining. In this case, they're on the free response. Okay, so you notice how I'm following my pacing guide that I showed you before. So we have Andrew and Maria collected 6 rocks. The masses are shown above. The mean of the masses of rocks Maria collected is 0.1 kilogram greater than the mean of masses of the rocks Andrew collected. What's the value of X? Okay, Maria's collecting rocks, and they're going to have a mean mass of 0.1 greater than what Andrew collected, so we have to calculate the mean mass of what Andrew collected. So to do this, we're going to have to sum all of those points for Andrew and then divide by 6. So we're going to have to plug that in our calculator, which I'm going to do now. Okay, so I'll do 2.7 plus 2.5 plus 3.1 plus 3.6 plus 2.5 plus 2.4. Okay, and then I divide by 6, and that's going to give me 2.8 for his mean. 2.8 is his mean. I know that it says that Maria is collecting 0.1 greater than the mean mass, so hers is going to have to be 2.9. So what I'm going to do then is I know 2.9 is going to have to equal the sum of all of these plus x all over 6. So I'm going to multiply 2.9 by 6 then. So I'll have 2.9 multiplied by 6. That's going to give me 17.4 then as the total mass that I need. And then I just take that, set it equal to the sum of all these numbers, right? So I'm going to have 17.4. I'm going to go ahead and subtract all of the 5 numbers that I know. So that's going to be 3.1 plus 2.7 plus 2.9 plus 3.3 plus 2.8 plus 2.8. And then at that point, that's going to give me my answer of 2.6 for number 36. Okay, so 2.6 is what I get when I do that, 2.6. Okay, so keep in mind what I did there is 17.4. I took that 2.9, multiplied it by 6, since there were 6 of these terms. That gave me 17.4. And at that point, I subtracted the sum of my 5 terms that I had. So the sum of the 5 terms that I had. Okay, that gave me 2.6. My answer there is going to be 2.6. At that point, I move on to 37 and 38. Going down here, we've got 37. Jeremy deposited X dollars in his investment account on January 1 of 2001. The amount of the money in the account doubled each year until Jeremy had $480 in his investment account on January 1, 2005. What is the initial value of X? Okay, well, why did I set up my equation like this? Well, here's what I know. I know he's ending with $480. I know that that took place over a 4-year change from 2001 to 2005. I know it's doubling every year, so I put a 2 in for my because it's doubling every year. So if it doubles every year, I'm going to have 2 raised to the power of 4 because it happens for 4 different years. That's multiplied by my initial value. I know 2 to the 4th. I mean, I can plug it in my calculator real quick to check, but I believe that that's going to be 16. And it is 16. So I go ahead and divide each side by 16, cancel that. 480 over 16. That is going to give me, let's go ahead and see, 480, 16. I think it's 30. It is 30. So then X is going to equal 30. So 30 is going to be my answer there. Alright, so now I go ahead and move over to 38. We've got a school district forming a committee to discuss plans for the construction of a new high school. Of those invited, 15% parents, 45% teachers, 25% administrators. The remaining 6 are students. Okay, that's the key part there. How many more teachers were invited? Okay, keep in mind it's how many more teachers were invited to join the committee than school and district administrators. Alright, well, I know that if I take this 25%, I add it to 45%, then I'm at 70%, 70% plus 15%, that's going to give me 85%. Okay, so then there's 15% left who are students. So it's 15% students. I know there's 6 students, so I've got 6 students over that 15% they represent, which can be rewritten as 0.15. I do that and I can find my total number of people there. Okay, that's going to be 40 people were there. Okay, so I've got 40 people there. Now I find the difference between the percentage of teachers and school and district administrators. That's going to be 45% minus 25%, which leaves me with 20%. So then I take that 40, multiply it by 0.2 to find that difference. Okay, I do that. That's going to give me 8. Okay, so there were 8 more teachers than school district administrators. Okay, so that one right there is not too difficult. So at this point, I've answered all of my questions. What I'd be doing with the next 17 minutes or 18 minutes I have left, I believe I finished in 37 minutes, so I've got 18 minutes left, which, keep in mind, is perfectly in the ideal range of having that 15 to 20 minutes left at the end to go back and check your work. So the first priority as far as things I'd be looking to do once I've answered all my questions, so option A, first, if there's anything that you're unsure of, any questions that you hadn't answered, obviously should be answered. Okay, so anything you're unsure of or questions that you hadn't answered, okay, those are going to be the first things you want to do. So first priority, any questions you're unanswered, but since I've answered all of them, the next thing I'd be doing is going through and finding the questions that I'm unsure of. Okay, so first priority is the questions you haven't answered yet, go answer them, then go to the questions that you're unsure of. Okay, then after you've gone through and you've looked at all the questions that you haven't answered, so now all your questions are answered, next thing you go through all the questions you're unsure of. Now you're certain of all your answers, then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to check your bubble sheet, okay, and make sure it matches what's in your test booklet. You want to make sure that all your answer choices match up. So you want to make sure that, for example, if you have question 18 and you answered A in your test booklet, you have answer A in your bubble sheet. So just making sure that your bubble sheet matches the test booklet. Okay, now keep in mind if the SAT is online in the future, then you'll probably just be answering the questions by clicking on the answer, and you don't have to worry about bubble sheet. More than likely, you'll just be answering it on the test, in which case you could disregard step B. So first priority, questions you haven't answered. Once you've answered all your questions, go to the ones that you're unsure of. After that, check your bubble sheet, make sure it matches your test booklet. Then the next thing that you're going to want to do is just go through and check as many problems as you can. Okay, so after that, just go through and start checking as many problems as you can. Like I said, at that point, you've gone through and you've checked the ones you're unsure of. So at this point, you're certain of all your answers. You're just going through and you're checking as many problems as you can. Okay, so here's my recommendation. I would recommend that once you're at that point where you're certain of all your answers, nothing is unanswered, you're certain of all of them, and you're checking as many problems as you can, I would go ahead and start at the easier problems, because you want to make sure that you get those easy points. Also, those easier problems can be checked faster since they are easier, so that's going to let you check more problems than if you're checking only the hard ones. Okay, at that point, you're certain of all your answers. You just want to go through and you want to use all that time up. So you want to go through and check as many problems as you can, and by doing that, you're going to want to start with those easier ones. So if you want to use that same pacing that I recommended in the video, you could do that while you're checking your problems. So check as many problems as you can at that point. Okay, so that's what I'd be doing with that 17 minutes I had left. First thing would be any questions that were unanswered. Obviously, I answered all of them in this one. Next thing would be any of them I was unsure of. I was certain of all of them. So then at that point, I'd check my bubble sheet, make sure it matched my test booklet, and I'd spend that next 16 minutes or so just checking as many problems as I can, starting with the easiest ones. Okay, so that's how you're going to want to do that math with calculator pacing. Hopefully that video was helpful. Hopefully this whole video was helpful and gave you a really good look at how you can pace the math section as a whole for both parts of it. So hopefully you also learned a few tricks to be efficient and saw the ways that I'm solving the problems. Paying attention to how I was solving those problems was going to help you as well, because you were able to see the tips and strategies that I use in solving different things and getting rid of wrong answer choices really quick using process of elimination and things like that. So hopefully that was helpful. If it was, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. As always, have a great day. There'll be a donation link in the description as well. If you would like to donate to me, I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for watching.